What's going on, everyone? DSP here, and welcome to part 2 of Ask the King for June 30th, 2011. Got lots more questions to answer, so let's get right into it. First question is, hey Phil, I was wondering how long it takes for your videos to upload to YouTube. I have a camera of the same brand as yours, but it can take 3 hours per video, which is a bit annoying. I've noticed that your videos usually come up relatively fast after each other, and was wondering if you compress the files or if having a YouTube partnership could possibly make your videos upload faster. Much appreciated, from MD Punk. Well, interesting question. Let me give you some insight. First of all, it all depends on not only just the brand of your camera, but the model of your camera, what kind of file type your camera saves the video files as, and also the quality of the video you're taking. I record in 720p. Now, if you're recording in 1080p, the file is going to be way bigger than what I record, and so obviously it's going to take longer to upload. YouTube has problems with certain videos, and actually can take longer. For example, YouTube loves .avi files, okay, but it absolutely hates some other file types such as .mp4. Incidentally, that's what I record in. I record in MP4, so sometimes it can take a lot longer to upload stuff to YouTube for me. But the other thing is, the old camera I used to have an older Sony camera. The files were significantly larger than my files now for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Maybe within the 2 years of when I bought that first camera and this camera I use now, the technology is advanced to the point where the files can now be smaller but still look visually the same quality. So the other thing, of course, is your internet speed. Now, I have really fast internet. I have a cable modem, and I'm on their Optimum Boost package, which is the fastest internet available in my area. You may have DSL, and DSL is way, way slower than what I'm using. So all these factors can lead to a video uploading pretty slow. So I hope at least some of those give you some insight into what the deal is. Now, it's funny because at one point I did buy another camera that wasn't a Sony camera, it was a Canon, and the videos looked pretty good, but the files were gigantic. The files were insanely large, and it took so long to upload these to YouTube that I gave up on that camera. I said, forget it, the files are just way too big. So it all depends really on the camera, the hardware, the software the camera uses internally to convert those files. Alright, next question. Hi Phil, I've heard you mention that the Street Fighter series has been toned down so that it suits a wider audience, but I've also heard you say that in the near future, video games will be as popular as movies. I have 2 questions. Do you think that all the major franchises will be toned down to suit a wider audience? And if so, do you think it will be these toned down games that will be as popular as movies? Thanks, from James. James, it's already happened. If you haven't noticed, the hardcore style games seem to be going away. I mean, the hardcore RPGs that used to be hard grinding and stuff like that have opened up to a more action-based style of game. First-person shooters. You used to have to actually need a mouse and keyboard to be really good to control. Now everyone uses a gamepad that's a lot slower, less reactionary, but it dumbs down the gameplay to the point where a wider audience can get good at the game and play it. Auto-aim in FPS. There never used to be auto-aim assist in FPS games. Now there is. Every time you press left trigger, half the time it locks onto your target automatically. So all this stuff is already happening. The games are already being dumbed down to appeal to a wider audience. And in some cases it's sad, in other cases it's good. It's all going to be your own personal opinion. My opinion on it is, as long as the gameplay is still fun, and as long as, for example, it's not a game that someone was planning to play on a competitive level, then I have no problem with it. But if you're dumbing down a game like Street Fighter or a game like Call of Duty, and these games are meant to be like tournament-worthy games, and you're making the gameplay super simple mode, that could be kind of frustrating. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, you're going to sell your game to more people, and it'll appeal to a wider audience, but at the same time, you lose some quality, some competitive quality of the game. So it's, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. Next question. Let's see, Phil, I wanted to know, what is the story behind your meticulously kept goatee? I noticed that you only grew it out around October and November, after you started doing this full time, and so did your previous work have something against facial hair? Did you shave to look professional for your job? Did you have a goatee before? Or did you start to grow a goatee to stop people from pointing out your uncanny resemblance to Barry Wheeler, the agent in Alan Wake? And that's also from Senor Huevos Benedictos. I didn't even realize I picked 2 questions from him this time, but they were both really good questions. Here's the deal. I started growing my goatee when I lost my full-time job back in September for a couple reasons. Number one, since there was no one, you know, when I go to work, obviously I want to look professional, and so me going in like this with a beard like this, and growing in. Now, if it was just the goatee, nicely trimmed goatee, there wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is, remember, you have to grow it out, and so it looks kind of messy if you're growing it out and you have stubble everywhere. There's going to be a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, where you don't look very good, and I didn't want to do that at my job. Now, since the job, you know, it wasn't a concern anymore, and I was at home all the time, I started growing it out. And I grew it out because I kind of, at the time, just wanted to feel some change in my life, you know. My whole life, I'd always had a full-time 9-to-5 job, grueling jobs, and, you know, I was like, you know what, this is like more of a freedom thing for me, an independence, so to be able to do what I like and turn it into something that's supporting me financially, and I love doing it, and so here's a symbol of change, and I grew out my beard. And since then I like it, you know. It is a little frustrating, I'm going to be honest with everyone. Right now in the summer it's so hot, and having this, oh, it is frustrating. It's very hot, and, you know, it would probably be a lot easier to shave it, but I like it. I like it. I might or might not get rid of it in the future. I guess we'll have to see. Okay. Where the hell am I? Here we go. Next question. Dear DSP, I've noticed that your popularity is growing with your revival of The Hateful Truth. At this point, your reviews have very great content, but are kind of bland from a visual standpoint. Do you feel the need to add a professional intro like you have with your other series, or do you plan to keep it plain and simple? Much appreciated. That's from Symbolic. Well, I like the fact that my videos are so plain and simple, The Hateful Truths, that I can immediately, when I'm beating a game now, I can upload it right away. So I like that aspect of it. On the flip side, I completely agree. It would look a lot nicer, it would be a lot more professional if it had an intro. Now, previously, my old Hateful Truths from a year and further ago had intros, but remember, that was before I was with Machinima, that was before I was making money doing this. But now I can't use any copyrighted music in order to make the intro. I can use footage from games and stuff like that, but I can't use any copyrighted music. So, unfortunately, yeah, there's no intro for it right now. Now, I'm not saying people couldn't make an intro. That whole intro to the weekend preview, that's fan-made. I didn't make that, and that's really good. There was a fan-made song from the Mass Defect. They used the fan-made song, put it into an intro, and it looks amazing, and it's a really good and interesting and catchy way to start the weekend preview videos. If someone would like to work on something like that for The Hateful Truth, I love it. The problem is I don't have music to use that's, you know, like a fan-made song. So you'd have to have a fan who made a song for The Hateful Truth intro and then turn that into a video intro. So if anyone would like to take a shot at it, feel free. If I like it, I'll use it. And if not, you know, I'll just continue doing what I'm doing. Okay? Next question. Hey Phil, have you thought about submitting more videos to Machinima? Perhaps sending part 1 of all your playthroughs to be featured on Machinima Respawn, and adding a small note that at the end, and it would have been nice if I started this timer, which I didn't. Adding a small note at the end for people to go to your channel to see the rest and for more content. I think this would be great exposure and will earn you many more views. Thanks for answering. Advance. I really don't think Machinima's looking for like part 1 of a playthrough to put up on their Respawn, to be honest. However, I was contacted by the content manager of Respawn. He's looking for me to put up fighting game related content on Respawn. I think, and this is just a rumor, but I think what's happening is with all the resurgence in fighting games with Street Fighter 4, Mortal Kombat, Marvel 3, the upcoming Street Fighter vs. Tekken, the new Soul Calibur coming out, I think that Machinima is thinking they might open up a new channel, just like they did with Machinima Realm, Machinima Sports, that might be primarily just for fighting games. And so I think they're looking to get more people putting fighting game footage on Respawn. Now, I specifically asked, what would you like, because I had uploaded a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 tutorial there, and it really got almost no views, and it got shoved under the rug because they uploaded another Marvel 3 tutorial that covered the exact same stuff that mine did right after mine. So obviously you're going to see the most recent one before you see mine, and everyone watched that one and not mine. I've been asked to make videos about Mortal Kombat, and specifically all the DLCs that are coming up with the new characters. So guess what? I'm not this weekend, obviously I'm off, but starting next week, I may start trying out the new characters such as Scarlet, Kenshi, and then later on Rain is coming out. I may play around with them and do like a tutorial video on them, the basics of how to play with them and their combos and such, and put it up on Respawn and see how it does. And if it works out, if the fighting game channel actually happens, I think that would be a great thing for me, because they might make me like some kind of a feature there. And so when I do stuff. Like, for example, I did in the lab with all the characters from Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. That probably would have got featured over there. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited about it. And so yeah, look for me to be uploading some stuff to Respawn relatively soon after I take my break and when I get some time to work on it. Okay, next question. Hey DSP, I watched your Whatever Happened to HD Remix video. If you haven't seen it, it's over on DSP Street Fighter, and it talks about what happened with Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix and why it kind of has vanished from the tournament scene right now. And I automatically thought of the upcoming Third Strike port to console. I don't know if you saw the interview, but the guy that's porting it said that the perfect port from arcade to console is what they've used. Nothing has been changed except for the art, but the art can actually be changed back to the original art if you want to, and it's using GGPO for the netcode. And I want to know if you agree with it not being touched or tweaked and in this port, and also if using GGPO as the netcode will make it a good game, and that's from M40 Assassin. Now, first of all, it's a debacle. It really is, because the reason that there's all this debate about HD Remix is because the game was remixed by David Serlin, who was a pro Super Turbo player. He played arcade Super Turbo and was very good at it and had won tournaments, placed in tournaments. And so they put him in charge of this project to rebalance the game for a HD Remix, which came out in 2008. And when it came out, pretty much all the hardcore Super Turbo players who have played Arcade ST for years and years says, we don't like this game. He seems to have made silly changes that don't make sense, and I don't understand this. And because of that, over the course of the next couple of years, a lot of the hardcore ST players continued to play it, but they complained a lot, and now the game has officially been taken out of EVO, and it's actually completely out of the EVO tournament circuit. No one really plays the game that much anymore. And so the question is, what the hell happened? Well, a lot of people blame all the problems with the game on the changes, that the changes weren't liked by the hardcore Super Turbo community, so therefore this hardcore Super Turbo community didn't support the game, and the game failed, ultimately. So now when we're talking about Third Strike, do I think it is a good thing that it's going to be identical to arcade? Yeah, I do. I think it is, because now there won't be any bitching. It's going to be, plain vanilla Third Strike that everyone enjoyed, and it's going to be that classic gameplay, and it's probably going to sell pretty well. Now, he's also asking me about GGPO netcode. I can tell you right now, GGPO netcode is extremely similar to the netcode that they used for HD Remix. In fact, HD Remix's netcode kind of stole some of the ideas that it used from GGPO, and I really think it's not going to be very good. I think it's going to be just as bad as every other fighting game that's ever come out. It's going to have rollbacks, just like HD Remix had. If you remember, in HD Remix, sometimes you would jump into a combo, then all of a sudden the game would roll it back, literally rewind what just happened, and show that you got hit instead. And you'd be like, what the fuck is that? I just did a combo on screen, and now all of a sudden I lost health? It makes no sense. So yeah, it's going to have that kind of netcode. I really don't like that. I don't like any of the netcode for any fighting games, and I've said it many times before. I think it's the infrastructure in the United States is not in place to have competitive fighting games online. It's just not good enough right now. It can't support the speed of the reactions that are needed in order for a fighting game to be played online properly. That's just my feeling. Alright, next question. Let's see. Oh. Now that we're halfway through 2011 and if you've played a shitload of games, what are your top 5 games that you've played so far this year? That's from Rick1128. And I actually wrote them down. I would say, out of all the games I've played so far this year, these are my 5 personal favorites. Dead Space 2, Portal 2, LA Noire, Shadows of the Damned, and if I were a Duke Nukem fanboy, and I'm giving you my fanboy opinion, Duke Nukem Forever, if I'm being completely objectively honest, I'd stick The Witcher 2 in there. Even with all its control problems, The Witcher 2 was still a really good game, still very enjoyable, graphically beautiful, the story was great, all that was great. If the gameplay had been not as silly, difficult, and partially broken as it was, the game would have been a much better game, but I still really enjoyed the game. So those are my 5 picks. Okay, next question. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We're going into Twitter questions now. So here's some questions from Twitter. The first one's from Shady Sands, and he says, have you ever seen the Street Fighter movie? What do you think of it? Much heterosexual love from England. Of course I've seen the Street Fighter movie. Everyone has. It's hilarious. It has Jean-Claude Van Damme acting horribly, as he always does in all of his movies. Barely speaking any English. That's intelligible. taking all the characters from Street Fighter 2 and pretty much making them ridiculous parodies of themselves. It's hilarious. It's a B movie. It wasn't made. I hope it wasn't made to be a serious movie that they thought was going to continue as a franchise, because it sucked ass. But the movie is absolutely hilarious. Now, they tried to make a serious movie recently with the Legend of Chun-Li or whatever the hell that was, and that movie fucking sucked monkey ass. That movie blew, because that was trying to take the Street Fighter lore and convert it to a mainstream movie, and it was horrible. So I actually think the original Street Fighter movie was better than the new one. Next question is from the Clincher13, and he says, Phil, are you going to do the Infamous 2 bad ending? Well, I've already said this, but I'm planning on doing another run-through of Infamous 2, doing everything bad, meaning hurting people, doing all the negative decisions, and unlocking those powers, and hopefully that'll be coming up in July or August during some of this downtime. Next question is from GoatPerv, and he says, are you ready to see that the PlayStation 3 and 360 be replaced by newer consoles, or should the current consoles continue on for another 2 to 3 years? Personally, I think the current consoles could continue on for another 2 to 3 years. It's just that some games, like Battlefield 3, are pushing the graphical envelope, and other games like Duke Nukem Forever just aren't meant to be on console, and it looked like shit on it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I would love to see a new slew of consoles that could do all these new graphics and everything. At the same time, a lot of these games aren't really implementing anything that's too groundbreaking or such an advancement of graphics. Hell, half the games still use the Unreal Engine. So, do you really need a new slew of consoles right now? I'm not so sure. I'm on the fence. Next question is from GTRFRK8787. I guess it's something freak, Guitar Freak 8787 maybe. And he says, last year, you absolutely hated Modern Warfare 2's map packs, and now that you've played 3 of the map packs for Black Ops, how do you feel that they compare? First of all, I still think they're insanely overpriced. They don't deserve to be as expensive as they are. I still am of the same opinion there. But, at least, with the Black Ops map packs, not only are you getting, say, 4 multiplayer maps for the game, but you're getting a cool zombie survival map that they really put a lot of effort into. I mean, one of them actually had real actors in it, which is pretty crazy, horror celebrities. Other ones have really neat Easter eggs. There's a lot of stuff to do and find out in those maps, and it really does add a lot more quality to the map pack. So I think that still it's not worth the amount of money they're charging you for it, but it's a better value, definitely a better value than what they were giving you last year with the Modern Warfare 2 map packs. Okay? And then finally, from Fidob, his question is, what has been the most disappointing game for you so far this year? And I have 2 answers for this. The first answer is, if you're talking fighting game-wise, because I am a fighting game buff, by far, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a huge disappointment. It was great on day 1, then on day 2 everyone realized that every fucking character has a retardedly long combo that does ridiculous fucking damage. There's glitches in the game that allow you to do DHCs that don't scale the damage properly. So the bottom line is the game, within just a couple months of release, has turned into a combo video. The entire game is a combo video. And if I want to watch a combo video, I'll go watch a fucking combo video. Marvel 2, yeah, there were a lot of crazy combos, but it wasn't always about just landing the 7 billion hit fucking combo that kills your character 100% of the time. And that's really what Marvel 3 has become. Oops, I made one mistake. Here comes a combo that's going to kill my entire character. What the fuck? And it's sad. It's sad because the game had a lot of potential. I really do think they screwed it up. And X Factor as well, I believe, is way too overpowered. It's just way too easy to have characters like Dark Phoenix or Sentinel who get the X Factor and all of a sudden, amazing comeback victory, because it's way, way too powerful. So, in my opinion, fighting game-wise, that's the most disappointing game. I think it had a lot of potential and they squandered it by making it too much of a combo-friendly game for the masses rather than making it a competitive game, which it really isn't at this point. In addition, if you want to talk about overall, of all the games that I played this year that I thought had a lot of potential and really fell flat, Brink. Brink, I thought, was going to be really good. I thought it was going to change a lot about the FPS genre, and instead it became a game with only 12 maps. Pretty much no reason to play the game over once you've beaten all the maps once or twice. And just ridiculous. No single-player campaign. The single-player campaign is exactly the same as this 12 maps of multiplayer. How did you think that that was enough value to sell a $60 game? I have no clue. The graphical style's weird. I don't get the graphical design. I think it's really ugly. And I just think overall it's a disappointment. They could have done a lot better. It's not a horrible game by far, but it's just not very good. It's really interesting the first time you play it through, and then you get bored and you say, well, I'm done. What am I supposed to do with this game now? So Brink, definitely one of the most disappointing games of the year for me so far. Alright, so that's it for this edition of Ask the King. Again, I'm not sure if I'll do another one in 2 weeks or a month. I'll let you know as we approach. But be sure to watch the video that's coming up next. It's all about that law that is currently just a bill in Congress, and it has potential to really fuck up a lot of stuff that people do on the internet, even though they don't mean that that's what they're trying to do with the bill. That's what it will do because the bill is far too broad, okay? So check it out. It's coming up later. But anyway, thanks for watching Ask the King, and I'll see you guys later.